Hey guys, my name's Khadroth. We're going to be recording this video for the second time as I had driver failure the first time I tried to record it. So this is going to be the review of Santa Karna. I did not get to review him in the past when he first came out due to being busy with several other units that were releasing at the time. And so I kind of just triaged it and prioritized other units. But the good news is Santa Karna is going to be the welfare for the upcoming Karnamas event. We can expect that to start probably sometime this week. And again, I think he's going to be a very good unit for a lot of you. The good news is he is a unit that even if you do miss him, he will be coming back as part of the Evocation shop. If you're a new player or you just haven't been paying attention to what JP's been doing, the Evocation Festival shop is going to be a way by which you can acquire old welfare. So he has already been added to that shop, so you know in the future you absolutely will have another opportunity to acquire him. Santa Karna himself is going to be a single target 4-star, as we already mentioned, welfare, quick Saber. So he's definitely going to be an interesting one in that regard, but he actually does have quite a bit of uses, including as both a single target damage dealer to a crit-centric unit that can kind of handle a wave or two and pass it off to someone else, and then maybe even somebody that can facilitate looping for you. So I'll talk about that here in a minute as we get to it, but let's go ahead and dive right in for the sake of brevity. Now, as you guys can see, raw stats, Santa Karna's got in the 9K range. This is usually what I like to see for our 4-stars. Anything in the 9 to 10K range is good. Anything over 10K is stellar. But usually if you're below the 9K range, I usually am going to kind of talk about that some and what that might mean for you. Still, he's over the 9K amount, so he's in a decent spot, though he's not obviously on the high end of that. The trade-off, though, is that he does have fairly good HP to boot, and he will have some survivability built into his kit to help him out on this. His attribute is going to be Sky attribute. His star absorption is going to be one less than the Saber average of 100, and his star generation rate is going to be fairly good at 10.2%. His MP charge rate will be a little bit higher than the average at 0.78. This is again going to be due to the fact that he's a quick unit, and quick units sometimes do struggle with their actual MP generation. His MP charge defense, the amount that he gets charged by whenever he gets hit, is 3%. And the death rate here is going to be 31.5%, which is a little bit over the average of 25. His alignment is going to be lawful good. His gender is male, and his basic traits are divine, hominide, humanoid, normal servant, 7-night servant, and weak to enemy elish. Taking a look at his deck here, this is the deck we like to see for the sort of modern era of quick. It is the deck that works very well with quick units, regardless of which Scotty they are taking on support. 2 quick cards for normal Scotty, as well as just the quick buff that both of them have in their kit, and 2 Buster cards for Summer Scotty's crits. Should you be trying to fire off more crits, this is going to be a really solid deck for you, because again, it's going to be 4 out of 5 cards that are really going to help you out with that. The singular arts card is going to be the concern. Again, this is just sort of the trade-off. So he is going to have a little bit of an issue if you're trying to get him to purely refund based off of cards. But as long as you play your cards right and you actually do try to land some of those crits, especially with the quick cards, you should get decent refund from that. Taking a look at the hit counts here, everything on this side over here is average, and only the quick card is above average with 4 hits. It's definitely good for him to have, though, as he will be really wanting some good performance on that card in particular. As we take a look at the first skill here, you guys can see he gets Buster and quick performance up of 3 times 3 turns, up to 30% over here. My only sort of gripe with this is that, again, the developers do sometimes limit units to a times instead of just a full 3-turn duration. I don't really care for this too much. I feel like it's an antiquated thing, and it's done mostly to our low-star units, but every once in a while we have it on a 5-star unit as well, and I think it's really stupid when they do that. But again, it's not a terrible thing for him to have. He'll function perfectly fine in this. Just be aware that there is a limitation to that. So if you do find yourself following up his NP with multiple cards, it may shaft you out of having this buff for, say, the next MP or something like that. He's also going to increase his own critical damage for 3 turns by 50% right there. This is non-aspected to any particular card types. It's definitely a good thing. And this is all on a 5-turn cooldown. As you guys can see, his second skill here is going to grant himself evasion for 2 attacks for 3 turns. Certainly a good thing for survivability. It's not 3 attacks, 3 turns, but it's better than the 1 attack. It's going to increase his own critical star absorption for 1 turn by 500%, sort of solving any kind of issue he might have with trying to absorb the cards. Don't worry about it ultimately at the end of the day. Again, with quick units, you usually don't have this issue as stars are kind of abound in it, but if there were to be an issue, at least you know that he will soak them. And it's particularly good since it's the 1 turn duration that also syncs up with the second part right here, which is the increase of critical damage for quick cards specifically for 1 turn by an additional 100%. So he definitely feels like he's designed a little bit with Summer Scotty in mind, where if you're taking Summer Scotty, all you have is the bonuses to Buster crit damage. He's going to kind of offset that almost as if he had his own set of double normal Scotties there. Or if you take double normal Scotties with him, he's going to have double that amount at 200% crit damage. So it's really going to be a very solid amount there for him to have. And again, all of this on a 6-turn cooldown. And again, the quick crit here stacking with the 50% that he has on the first skill there as well. Looking at his third skill here, he gets the ability to charge 1 allies in P gauge by up to 20%. You're definitely going to want to lure this skill for that nice flat, even 20% charge. This can obviously be used on Karna himself, which is really a good thing. As you can see, it also grants debuff immunity for 3 times 3 turns. This does give it some challenge applications and will prevent him from getting debilitated too much. But as we mentioned before, you can put this on somebody else, and this is actually how I have used him to facilitate looping. He is actually sort of one of the preferred supports for someone like Fran to loop. If you're trying to loop Fran Berserker, you'll know that she stuns herself whenever she NPs, but if you have something like this on her, you don't have to worry about that. She's not going to be your best looper by any means, but this is one of the ways in which you can get away with this sort of thing. So sometimes having charge with debuff immunity can be situational, but it can be very strong when it is. So again, it's something that I would really say is a stronger aspect to his kit, despite the fact that most people probably overlook it. It is all on a 5-turn cooldown, so again, you're going to get this skill back frequently and often in a challenge environment. And then let's move on to the passive skills here. You guys can see he gets magic resistance A for some additional debuff resistance by 20% there, definitely a good amount. But again, he does have the debuff immunity in his third skill, so it is what it is. His divinity here is going to add some additional flat damage to all of his attacks. It's just an extra 200. And the hard puncher EX is going to increase the critical damage of his buster cards by 12%. So again, he's just sort of rolling in crit damage here. Taking a look at the append skills, I'm going to recommend the mana loading first and foremost, just to again facilitate anything you're trying to do with him. That extra 20% can make the difference in using a better CE, so it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do with him. The third one being anti-Saber attack damage aptitude. To me, not a whole lot of synergy here. You can definitely go after this if you want. You will probably have coins abound since he is a welfare, but I would instead focus on something like, yes, the fourth one for even more critical damage, or the fifth one here to reduce the skill activation times should you so choose. Again, even the first one can be good as well for the extra attack finesse. I'd say, honestly, the third one is the odd man out, where it's not necessarily that good. The Noble Phantasm here is an 8-hit single target quick NP, as we already denoted. It's going to remove one enemy's gut status, activating first before damage goes out. This is definitely really nice, as it means there won't be a guts pop. The damage is just going to basically... it's going to remove the guts before the damage goes out, and then the damage is just going to slide right in and kill the enemy. So it's definitely a nice thing to have. Just keep in mind that if the enemy ever has sort of a fight-specific effect, so something that's in that like white box outline, that buff is not removable. So just keep in mind that that may be the case with certain guts. You might not be able to remove them with Karna's NP, but if it is a like skill that they're popping instead of a fight-specific effect, yes, you can carve through them like a knife through butter and absolutely remove this off of them. Is it going to deal damage to them? And again, since he hasn't had an interlude, he's just at that 12,000% right there, which is definitely nice. Increases his own quick performance for 1 turn, activating first is his overcharge effect, and this is going to increase by a base of 20%, though again, it can scale upwards all the way up to 40% at 500% overcharge. I'm not going to say that the scale's too good, but I am going to say this is certainly nice that it activates first, as this not only enhances the damage of the NP, but also the refund for it. And given the fact that it is a single turn duration, does mean that additional cards after the NP can also gain the benefit of this effect. So if you do manage to get his 2 other quick cards after his quick MP, and they manage to crit, you could be looking at a very nice, easy refund all the way back to full, potentially, should you get that lucky on the RNG. So, with that in mind, we've now talked about his NP. Let's go ahead and let's talk about refund numbers for Karna. So if we are using him in a 2-time Scotty scenario, again, this is going to be Summer Scotty in particular for this one, against a singular neutral enemy. You're looking at basically with 1 hit out of 8 for overkill, so that's assuming that you kill the enemy, because if you kill the enemy, you'll get at least 1 hit. You're looking at only 18.56% refund. So his refund is not the greatest. You're not really going to want to try too much to 3-turn with Santa Karna, but it is still something that is certainly possible with enough brute force charge. At 8 out of 8 hits of overkill, though, you can only still get up to 26.21%. So again, the refund just kind of not there. You could probably get to that 20% break point relatively easily, but not really going to be able to get to 30% without at least a third Scotty in the mix somehow. And really, that won't be that good for you refund-wise, since they'll only be refunding 30%. So with that in mind, we have a couple craft essence recommendations. Kaleidoscope is going to kind of be your bread and butter for him if you're trying to do multiple MPs. Obviously, this is going to be where you're going to be able to get back for another one just by virtue of having 100% of the 300% charge that you need for an entire 3-turn already taken care of by a craft essence. Though again, this may be something that you choose not to do. Obviously, something like K-Scope is very strong, but maybe instead you want to start them out, get a little bit more firepower. So something like Knights of Marines can absolutely at MLB have 60% charge. So that plus his 20% from his mana loading, plus his 20% from his targeted self-charge, means that he could start at 60% and under his own power get to full. Knights of Marines, definitely a solid one as it's all attack scaling and gives 15% quick up, though keep in mind that it is a limited CE. Traces of Christmas is an old welfare CE from one of the old lottos. It is, again, a 100% attack scaling CE. It is 50% starting charge in PGen of 10%, which might help him some. And then the quick up of 10% there. Not going to be your most high octane damage CE, but it is a nice 50% CE if you want to start him out at that for various reasons. The one thing he doesn't really have in his kit is going to be Invuln Pierce. So if you do want to find another alternate source for Invuln Pierce, something like Valentine's Witches, which you may have rolled on earlier this year for Valentine's, Honey Lake, which you may have rolled for back in Summer 5, or even Decapitating Bunny all the way back, again, early in the game, can all be decent Invuln Pierce CEs. The good news about Decapitating Bunny is, unlike the other ones, this one has been added to the Recollect Essence Exchange shop on JP, which is the shop that allows you to purchase old craft essences once again. So this is sort of a permanently available craft essence now, thanks to that. It is all attack scaling, it is invincibility pierce, and it is quick up. So certainly something that can be good to you. Just keep in mind it's going to cost you, again, some mana prisms in order to be able to get this. But that is going to be sort of the recommendations that I'm going to say are going to work well on someone like Karna. Now, let's take a look at the actual charge scenarios in order to kind of break down how a 3-turn would work on him. Again, with a single target, we're not going to put too much priority on this. This is more of a proof of concept. If you can do it, you can do it. But again, keep in mind with your single targets, a lot of the time it's more for something like boss killing rather than necessarily trying to specifically 3-turn a node or something like that. Either way, with Karna, we're going to go ahead, start out with his maxed out append, basically with a non-MLB K-scope, or an MLB K-scope and no append whatsoever. Either way, we're going to do the double Summer Scotty buffs right there in turn 1, fire off the NP, and basically we should only refund the 18%, as we already mentioned. The way to look at this is basically 10% charge. You're going to want to round that number down. And so we're going to take 20% here from Karna's own self-charge, 20% from an Oberon charge that we will get after we rotate one of the Scotties out, because we're going to go ahead and use their charge skill on as well. And that should bring us up to over 100% here. Fire off the NP a second time, and then refund the 18% again, and then basically use both remaining 50% charge skills to bring them to full. So that's what a sort of brute force 3-turn would look like for someone like Santa Karna. Again, he could certainly pull it off, but obviously something like K-Scope is not going to be the best craft essence in terms of offensive firepower. So it is what it is, but that is a, again, sort of proof of concept loop there for him. Now, you can also, again, do something like Black Grail if you're just trying to do one-shot damage. That is something I should mention. And it is at least possible to potentially get somebody to, start out with a Black Grail and maybe get back all the way for a, second turn or something like that. So, you could at least get 2 NPs off with him in that regard. Taking a look at Santa Karna's self-buff only damage here. This is going to be his damage against a neutral target with only his own buffs. No sort of Scotties buffing him or mystic codes or craft essences in play. So just a pure neutral environment with his own skills in play. You can see he's only going to do about 33k at MP1, but thanks to the fact that he's a welfare, we guaranteed to get NP5 eventually. So we're going to focus a little bit more on the NP5 numbers in that sense for him. So again, 56k there, neutral damage. That is nothing too bad. And now let's look at him in an actual environment here. You guys can see this is going to be still neutral numbers, but now with the additional support buffs and things like the Mystic Code and Craft Essence added in. So again, double Summer Scotty with Oberon, a level 100 K-Scope, and a level 10 Neo Plug Suit. Wave 1 damage, 175, almost 176 there. Wave 2, the same. And Wave 3, thanks to the Oberon third skill there, really jumping up to 401k. And then essentially, if you wanted to, you can sort of see the one-shot damage here. He can get all the way up to 746k neutral. Basically, if you're using a level 100 Black Grail instead. Again, this is something irrespective of ability to multi-turn or anything like that. This is just raw power as high as we can get it in one singular turn. So you can definitely see that Santa Karna is at least somewhat capable. And in comparison, let's go ahead and look at yet another welfare out there. This is going to be Saber Hokusai. This is going to be another single target arts welfare for you. And again, you can see her with double Castoria Oberon and a level 100 Smiling Face will allow her to 3-turn. Her 3-turn numbers look quite a bit more robust than someone like Santa Karna, but her one-shot damage is a little bit under his. So again, you can see he's got a little bit more front-loaded firepower. She's got a little bit more capability in a 3-turn than he will. There's also Iori that has now come out on JP. He has also got that Buster synergy there. So he's got cranking on instead, double Koyanskaya of Light, and Oberon with an anti-man niche being provided by Koyan herself. And you can see pretty much kind of similar numbers there, not too high off, but definitely a little bit around Karna's numbers of 175 there. But then pretty much by wave 3, due to that Buster synergy, he's just scaling a little bit better with Oberon. And as you can see, the one-shot damage, a little bit less, but if it is man-traded, then yes, you're going to have, man-attributed, you're going to have a little bit more firepower for someone like Iori just due to his sort of access to better supports than someone like Santa Karna is going to have. And then comparing to another single target Saber, this is going to be Okita. Okita is a SSR, so we're only going to be looking at NP1 and NP2 here. This is double Summer Scotty, Oberon, level 100 K-Scope, very similar type situation. You can see her wave 1 numbers are going to be a lot lower. But again, this is sort of the value of having welfare and stuff like that. This also has to do with the fact that Okita's steroid is basically a 1-turn duration type of deal. So you're going to wait to pop that until turn 3, and definitely there a little bit more sketchy numbers. The issue at play here is that when it comes to the one-shot damage, she's still going to kind of get beat by him. So this is something to kind of pay attention. Your Okita can be used decently effectively, but at NP1, just not necessarily going to have the firepower. The second we start looking at NP2, though, the numbers are a lot more competitive, with wave 3 numbers being better and essentially your NP2 numbers pretty much being right on the mark for where Santa Karna was. So again, I do think Okita is somebody that still kind of needs that NP interlude, but yes, if you have a robust one, she's still going to outperform him, but if you don't, he's going to outperform her. Now, Saber Medusa is going to be the last single target Saber we're going to compare him to. As you can see, we're going to be doing her with double Summer Scotty Oberon, a level 100 Traces of Christmas, that's that 50% C, and a level 10 Neo Plug Suit. Basically, due to the kind of access to a better craft essence, Wave 1, a little bit worse than him. Wave 2, a little bit better than him. And Wave 3, better than him. So from there, we also get to add in the man niche that she actually does just normally have. And boom, she is just going to perform outright better at NP1 than him. Again, for basically one-shot damage, this is now with the Black Grail. You can see with man niche, she absolutely trounces him. But without it, she will absolutely lose to him. So again, it just kind of depends on what you're dealing with in terms of NP levels of your other units. Santa Karna is a very solid unit. He has a lot of crit damage in his kit, and I have used him simply to just crit down certain waves with Summer Scotty and not even have to worry about trying to 3-turn. So keep in mind, this is always an application that you can try and pull off with him, especially if you have some way to remove some of the RNG out of the comp, maybe by using, say, a Summer BB or someone like Artoria Ruler that can maybe shuffle the cards for you. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Santa Karna is still a solid option for you guys as a welfare. He may not be your best looper, but he is going to be somebody that can hit and crit very hard for you. Let me know what you guys think about Santa Karna. And again, how will you guys be handling Karnamas? If you haven't already, go check out the video that I put out on that, and I will see you guys for the next one.